Hello, fellow witches, and welcome to another episode of Witchy Ways for Modern Days. My name is Brittany, of course, your host, and today we will be talking about something that sounds incredibly basic at first glance, but it's actually one of the biggest questions in modern witchcraft and has been requested: spellwork. I know that we have done episodes on spellwork before, but we're going to scale it back once again, just to make sure we're all on the same page, just to make sure that I can maybe give a bit more clarifying information. So let's go ahead and talk about it, because there is something I have noticed over the years of practice. People often become interested in witchcraft because of spells. They can typically be the doorway. So people will picture bubbling cauldrons, herbs, candles, moonlight, speaking ancient words over flickering flames. And then after they're sort of in the community for a while, they start hearing things like, well, I don't really cast spells anymore, or my practice is more intuitive, or, well, I work with symbolism, or I don't believe spells actually do anything. So suddenly, what seemed like the foundation of witchcraft becomes confusing, and things feel very unsettled. So today I want to strip everything back. I don't want it to come from a place of assumption. We're not going to discuss anything from a place of gatekeeping. I don't want to make anything with this topic more complicated than it needs to be. So this is going to be Spellwork 101. We're going to talk about what a spell actually is, why people do them, why some witches rarely will perform formal spell work, why the action matters, what energy work with this means, and how symbols communicate within this magical practice. So let's think of this episode as sitting together while we gently try to untangle one of the biggest misconceptions in modern witchcraft. So let's begin with probably the biggest question. What is a spell? Now, if you asked 10 different witches, you would likely get 10 different answers. But coming from me, my preferred definition goes something like this. A spell is an intentional act designed to influence either yourself or your circumstances or your relationship with the world through focused intention, focused symbolism, and focused energy. Notice something important with what I just said. I did not say a spell was waving a wand. I didn't say it was forcing the universe to obey you, to bend the will or the focus of anybody else. I didn't even say it was supernatural. A spell is intentional. That is the heart of it. When you intentionally combine your focus and your action and emotion towards a desired outcome, that's the point in which you have entered the realm of spell work. So if you boil it down to everything else, the candle you're burning isn't the spell. The herbs aren't the spell. Crystals aren't the spell. Even the words you might say, those aren't the spell. You are the spell. So everything else that I just mentioned is just helping your mind. It's helping your emotion or your subconscious, and depending on your beliefs, the spiritual world, align towards one purpose, whatever the purpose of this spell is for you. And that's why two different people can perform the exact same candle spell from the exact same book with the exact same supplies and have two completely different experiences. So one person might feel deeply connected and transformed to this outcome. The other might walk away simply feeling like, well, they burned an expensive candle. It sort of felt like nothing, right? Because tools, while extremely helpful, filters, essentially, for magic, they don't create magic. Your intentional consciousness does. Now, does it mean, again, that supplies don't matter. No, not exactly. So think of spell ingredients like musical instruments. A beautiful violin, an expensive violin, does not automatically make someone a wonderful musician. But an experienced musician can absolutely create incredible music with that violin. Your magical tools amplify you. They focus, they translate the magic, but they don't replace you. Now, another question that comes up a lot of the time with this: do your spells actually need any action? And this might be one of the bigger misconceptions in Spellwork 101. So I want you to imagine someone performs a prosperity spell asking for a new job. And then they never update their resume. They never apply anywhere. They never answer emails. They don't go on an interview. They just wait on the couch, waiting for it to happen for them. They're waiting for new money. Most witches would kind of crack a smile at that and say, well, that's probably not going to work, because it's probably not. Your magic loves movement. So think of spellwork less like ordering something online and more like adjusting the sails of a boat. Okay, so you are sailing towards a particular goal. The wind might shift, current might help you, but you still have to steer the ship. One of my favorite sayings is that magic can open doors, but you still have to walk through them. If you're casting for love, you still have to open yourself to meeting people, allow yourself to be seen. If you are casting something for healing, you still have to take care of yourself. If you're casting a spell for confidence, you still have to say yes to opportunities that will stretch you. Spellwork and action are partners, and neither can replace the other. In fact, many witches intentionally include mundane action inside the spell itself. Example being, you might dress a candle for success while you simultaneously fill out job applications. You might create a healing ritual, a healing bag, while you are scheduling your therapy appointment. You could be enchanting a planner while you are organizing your goals. The magic and the mundane become one continuous, very powerful act instead of two separate worlds. Personally, I think that is where some of the strongest magic lives. Not because the universe needs proof that you're serious about what you're trying to do, but because your own mind begins believing that you're serious about this. Action reinforces intention, always. Now here is another fascinating question. If spells are not absolutely necessary, why do we perform them at all? Can't we simply just work toward our goals without doing a ritual? Magically. Yes, absolutely you could, and many people do. Magic is not required to live a successful, meaningful life. So then why do witches cast spells? One reason, I think, is because humans are ritualistic creatures. Think about birthdays, right? Graduations, wedding rings, funerals, lighting candles for people who've passed away, making a wish before we blow birthday candles out. None of these things are logically necessary, but emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, they matter. So ritual changes how we experience a moment. And spellwork functions much the same way. It has the ability to transform an ordinary desire into a sacred intention. It tells the universe, well, this matters enough to me that I am purposely slowing down to acknowledge it. It creates mindfulness and focus and hope and presence and confidence. And for many practitioners, it also creates a genuine spiritual connection as well. All right, let's take a quick pause, because if you are listening to this podcast, chances are your magic deserves tools that actually meet you where you are. If you aren't already aware, I am part owner of Winslow Naturals, a small, family-owned metaphysical shop creating handcrafted ritual oils, candles, sprays, soaks, and spiritual tools, each one made with intention, experience, and deep respect for the craft. These aren't mass-produced products. Every one of our blends is thoughtfully formulated for real-life magic, whether you're working with deities, doing shadow work, calling in abundance, or just protecting your peace in this chaotic world. I also offer personal tarot readings, aura readings, spirit guide confirmations, distance Reiki, and chakra healing sessions for those of you looking for deeper insight, energetic support, and one-on-one spiritual care. If you're ready to elevate your practice with tools, readings, and healing work from people who truly understand the craft, visit Winslow Naturals at winslownaturals.com or find us on TikTok, where we go live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. And if it's your first time ordering, you can use code Witchy Ways to get 10% off your first website order, because your magic deserves to be supported intentionally, ethically, and powerfully. Whether you believe that you are communicating with deities or spirits or ancestors or your own deeper self, spellwork becomes a language that you speak. Not because magic can't hear ordinary thoughts, not because it doesn't just give you what you want, but because ritual gives those thoughts proper shape. It gives it more of a tangible shape. So imagine trying to express love. Okay? You could simply think it, or you could write a love letter. You could buy flowers, you can cook dinner, hold someone's hand. The love there existed before you did those actions, but the actions gave it form. Spells are often exactly that. It's love energy given a form. It's hope given form, protection given form. Now here's something that might surprise many people who are towards the beginning of their witchcraft journey, or having some fogginess within the process of their spiritual journey. There are plenty of witches who rarely cast formal spells. Some witches, gasp, don't cast them at all. That does not make that witch less magical. Modern witchcraft is an incredibly diverse practice. So some witches primarily meditate. Some focus mostly on herbal knowledge. Some study astrology. Some witches will devote themselves almost entirely to deity and worship. Some will practice divination through tarot and runes. That's all they do. Some witches work almost exclusively with ancestors. Some simply observe changing seasons. They celebrate the wheel of the year. Some witches practice what you might call devotional magic. So their entire craft has nothing to do with spells. It centers more around prayer or offering and relationship. Spellcasting is not really a part of this. You might have other witches that see every cup of tea they prepare, every loaf of bread they bake, every garden they tend to, every room they cleanse. Those are everyday enchantments for them. So they don't do proper, ritualistic spell work, but they're doing simple cleansing, simple blessings, just very, very small things. For those type of witches, life itself becomes their ritual. And I think that's quite beautiful. Sometimes we have to accept, sometimes the most magical witch in the room, quote unquote, is not the one that is performing elaborate ceremonies. Sometimes it's not the high priestess. Sometimes it's the one who has learned to move through ordinary life with extraordinary intention. Now let's talk about one of my favorite subjects, and we're going to kind of condense this within this episode, but we can certainly go into it further in depth in a later one. So let's talk about symbolic communication. And this is a place where witchcraft starts becoming incredibly fascinating. Many magical traditions will view symbols as a language, as a spell. They're not decorations, they are language. Imagine giving someone a bouquet of roses. Even if they knew nothing about flowers, they would likely understand that you are communicating affection. Now imagine handing someone an old key, or a black feather, or an acorn. These objects immediately begin telling a story, and the story might be, slightly different between people, but the acorn might represent growth to somebody. You might give a key to someone and their brain is interpreting it as magical opportunity or protection. Symbols carry meaning, and just because they might carry different meanings doesn't mean the intention is not strong. Our brains are kind of set up to think symbolically, naturally. Dreams are symbolic. Stories are symbolic. Religion is filled with symbols. National flags are symbols. Wedding rings are symbols. Even emojis are symbols. Human beings constantly communicate through imagery. Many witches simply become more intentional about that language. So perhaps instead of believing a rosemary sprig possesses magical powers all by itself, they see rosemary as representing clarity, remembrance, purification, protection. When rosemary becomes part of a spell, it communicates these concepts. You could do an entire ritual using rosemary for protection for someone, or you could simply hand a sprig of rosemary to them, and essentially it's the same thing. So it depends on how ritualistic, how involved, and intentional your energy is, but it is the same thing. Same goes for colors. So, for example, white often will symbolize purification. Red symbolizes courage occasionally, or vitality. When you combine those type of symbols together, you're essentially creating a spell, a sentence as a spell, rather. So a green candle wrapped in cinnamon with basil suddenly will tell a symbolic story about abundance and opportunity. If you take a blue candle and you surround it in lavender and douse it in moon water, that tells another symbolic story, and you light it, and that's your spell. Magic begins speaking in images instead of paragraphs or invocations. Whether you believe that you are communicating with your subconscious, or the universe, or deities, or you're just reinforcing your own intention, symbols become the vocabulary. And humans have been doing this for thousands of years. Witches simply do it consciously. Now let's shift into another concept that is part of Spellwork 101, and it's talked about constantly, but it's rarely explained well, so I'm going to have another go at it. Energy manipulation. You will hear witches say things like, move energy, direct your energy, ground your energy. What does that mean? What does that actually mean? The answer depends on the practitioner. Some view magical energy as a literal spiritual force, something that exists independently, and it can be sensed and directed and shaped. Others interpret energy more psychologically, so they see it as your focus or your emotional state, your presence, your nervous system. And many witches, myself included, find themselves somewhere in between. So whether you believe an invisible spiritual energy is a thing, or you don't, you can absolutely feel the difference between walking in a room joyful versus anxious. Walking in a room focused instead of distracted. Our internal state always changes how we interact with the world. Spellwork intentionally shifts that state. Think about music. One song can make you cry, another can make you feel unstoppable. Another can help you sleep. Nothing physically changed inside the song, but your internal energy shift by hearing it. Magic often works in a similar way. Lighting candles, meditating, repeating affirmations, movement, prayer, all of these help alter our consciousness. So when witches talk about raising energy, they're often describing intentionally increasing their emotional or their spiritual or mental focus before they direct that concentrated state toward a purpose. Visualization is something that becomes important here. Many witches will imagine energy flowing from the earth, so pulling it upward from the earth through their body. Others might visualize light filling a room. Some imagine roots grounding them into the earth. Others will picture protective bubbles or shields that surround themselves. And whether they are considered literal energetic structures or symbolic mental exercises, it just depends on the practitioner's worldview. But regardless of the viewpoint, the practice itself remains remarkably similar. Now, another question that beginners or just people who are a little bit confused about spell work will ask is, how do I know if my spell worked? It's surprising to me how many practitioners hate this question, but I think it's a reasonable question, right? Unfortunately, you're probably not going to like the answer. The answer to how do you know if your spell worked? Sometimes you know. Sometimes you don't. Sorry. Sometimes results appear exactly as you expected. Sometimes they arrive differently. Sometimes the biggest change happens inside you before anything changes outside you, anything that you can actually notice. Maybe your confidence grows. Maybe your fear shrinks. Maybe opportunities suddenly become easier to recognize because you are finally paying attention to them. And yeah, sometimes absolutely nothing seems to happen, and that is okay too, I promise. Every experienced witch, if she is truthful, can tell you that she has had spells that didn't seem to produce the outcome that was hoped for. But that doesn't necessarily mean they failed. It could mean that the timing wasn't right for it. It might mean the goal needed to be changed. It might mean something else unfolded instead. Or maybe the spell just didn't accomplish what you intended. Failure is part of every version of our craft. Artists create paintings they dislike all the time. Gardeners lose plants all the time. Bakers do burn bread. And witches perform spells that don't seem to work. Learning comes from practice, not perfection. A piece of advice that I do like to give beginners in particular is to keep a magical journal. This doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to make this like your grimoire or something beautiful. It can be a scrapbook. It could be a lined journal. Just write down whatever spells you're doing right now. Write down the purpose, the main intention, your emotions, the moon phase that you're doing it under, if that matters to you. And even if it doesn't, just notate it. You might need to look back on it later. You need to write down the ingredients, the date, and then revisit what you wrote weeks later, perhaps months. And patterns, I promise, will begin to emerge. You will notice which of your techniques resonate most deeply. You're going to discover your own magical language by keeping track of it instead of trying to imitate anybody else's magical language. Because ultimately that is what your witchcraft will become. It will become your relationship with yourself, essentially. It's not a performance. It's not a competition to see which witch is the witchiest. It's not a checklist. It's a relationship with nature, with you, with spirit, with possibility. And I think that is one of the most important lessons here in Spellwork 101. There is not a perfect way to practice. There are some witches that perform elaborate ceremonies under every full moon. Some witches whisper tiny blessings over their morning coffee. Some witches will cast circles. Some never do, never have, never will. Some witches use dozens of correspondences. Some will use none. Some believe energy is literal. Some will see it as deeply psychological. Some witches blend both, all, nothing. The beauty, I think, especially of modern witchcraft, is that it leaves room for our personal experience while still honoring ancient traditions. So can you be a witch without doing all the quote-unquote witchy stuff we talk about day in and day out? Absolutely. If your mindset is set on, I am a witch, I am creating and establishing and strengthening connection with myself, then yes, you are a witch. In the simplest version of that term, you are. So you don't have to become anybody else to be magical. You don't need to become more of a stereotype or aesthetic. You just need to become more intentional about being yourself. Your spellwork is not about controlling the universe. It's about participating in it. It's about stating very clearly, I have hope, I have dreams, I have intentions. I'm choosing to engage with my intentions consciously. And whether that engagement does look like lighting candles or writing a prayer, planting seeds, meditating beneath the moon, magic lives there regardless of how it comes out. It lives in your choices and it lives in the intentions. It lives in your willingness to believe that your actions matter, because I promise you, they do. Thank you very much for spending this episode with me today. I hope it helped to take some of the mystery, maybe even some of the intimidation out of spellwork. If you've been one of those people that has been worried you weren't doing magic right, I hope that you walk away from this part of the conversation realizing there is not one universal formula. You are allowed to do your craft your way, and it's allowed to evolve over time. It's allowed to get quieter, more simple. It's allowed to become more elaborate, more energetic, more practical, and that is just part of the journey. If you enjoyed today's conversation, I would love for you to follow the podcast on all available platforms. We're on Patreon, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and like a dozen more that I have no idea what they're called. I'm going to have to actually be more up on that one. So please share with a friend who is beginning their magical path if you feel it could be helpful for them. And as always, please just remember, your magic does not have to look like anybody else's to be meaningful. Trust in your intuition, keep learning, and don't be afraid to let your practice become uniquely your own. I hope you have a wonderful week, my friends. Blessed be.